Now, there's no doubt about it that ever since, of course, Disney took over Lucasfilm, we've had a lot of fans remain divided over what Kathleen Kennedy has done to George Lucas and his philosophy of Star Wars, and exactly where things have actually already headed with the Kenobi show, Book of Boba Fett, and other projects like Mando Season 3 that Kathleen Kennedy got, involved in and really tarnished. This is Mike Zero. Subscribe if you're new and like this video to see future Star Wars updates. I'm also on Twitter at Mike01. I thank you all so very much for the great and kind support. Now, I've said this several times, that with all those projects, like the sequels, the Book of Boba, Kenobi, Mando Season 3, there's elements in those projects that I really do enjoy, like on a scene-by-scene basis, right? But not on a consistent level in its entirety. So, for example, the sequels, I don't really enjoy them through and through consistently, but I do enjoy a lot of bits and pieces, like specific scenes out of each and every film. The same goes as follows for the other shows like Book of Boba and Kenobi. But that brings us to what Bob Iger recently had to say about the whole Kathleen Kennedy situation, the leadership over at Lucasfilm, and what this really means for the whole plan to get Kathleen Kennedy fired by this August, which, by the way, we know that a lot of this has to do with the success or failure of Indiana Jones 5, The Dial of Destiny. That's basically Disney executives' new plan to quote-unquote give Kathleen Kennedy a fair shot, but in reality, what's really happening is that Disney's worried if they make Indy 5 into a huge success, that then, of course, it's going to be hard to fire Kathleen Kennedy because they believe it's going to give themselves a bad image. But moving ahead here, with Disney and Lucasfilm prepping many announcements for upcoming shows and films later this year, in a recent interview that Bob Iger took part in, he went on to discuss Lucasfilm's leadership and more. He went on to state the following: "In this industry, you always want to do better and stay in the business, and sometimes certain roles of leadership just don't work out, and you seek new leadership. These are options that we are now throwing on the table for Lucasfilm and ensuring its future with this brand to be successful as we can, and how we can make it while renaming the true to the core franchise. We have nothing personal against the current leadership at Lucasfilm, nor are we trying to make things worse or more difficult for our audience. We simply want to do better, and this is why we have options ready for when we need them the most. It's been a tough decision on our end, laying out these options and trying to create a strategy to form this properly for many of us here at Disney. It's never our intention to change leadership and how a company is run, but sometimes these things just need to happen prematurely and eventually in order to get one's other perspective on how the business should have run." Now, let me just kind of point out something out here that's very important about what Bob Iger is saying here, is that basically he is confirming that there is a Kathleen Kennedy firing plan in place. When he calls this the Lucasfilm leadership, quote-unquote, this, of course, all pertains to no other than Kathleen Kennedy. And as you all know, Disney has been very unhappy with Kathleen Kennedy recently, prematurely announcing so many Star Wars movies that went sour, and that's exactly why they wanted to take their time with the announcements until Celebration, and they did. So right now, the current slate of Star Wars movies are the New Jedi Order movie, aka the Rey film, the Dawn of the Jedi movie by James Mangold, and we got the Dave Filoni Star Wars film. Later this year, we're going to be getting Old Republic movie announcements, 3 of them to be exact. That's the overall structure right now, to bring Star Wars back to the theaters. 6 movies, with a couple of those being the gateway to opening a new trilogy, specifically the Dave Filoni film and the first Old Republic movie. Now, with things, happening right now with Bob Iger, we know that he really wants to create his own legacy with Star Wars. He wants to perform better than Bob Chapek. We know that Bob Chapek really tried to undo a lot of Kathleen Kennedy's mess that she left behind with the sequels and tried to reunite the fan base as much as possible. And the executives just felt he wasn't doing his job fast enough, and they weren't really happy, with him with the Disney parks at all, so they brought Iger back in very quickly to kind of just keep things under control and course correct And regardless, Bob Iger is not going to be staying with us that long, so we will be getting a new CEO most likely at the end of next year, leading into 2025. Now, on to the next, alright? Now, with Lucasfilm, he says, "We are fully dedicated to focusing on Star Wars and Star Wars only for now, and it's our priority to make sure that we can do the best that we can with this property to enhance the experience for not just the common moviegoer, but for the fans as well. The shift on focusing on movies again and ending the hiatus that Kathy initiated was a must, and we feel it's the best move to keep Star Wars relevant again in the theaters. We couldn't be more excited about our future with Star Wars and what we have to announce by the end of this year for the community. In search of new leadership, at the same time, we are now looking to turn Star Wars back into becoming more of an event on an annual basis for the fans." Now, when he's talking about this, he's talking about the reintroduction of movies coming back. And what I like so much about this is the fact that movies hold a specific value for Star Wars. It's where Star Wars all began. Let's be real here. There's nothing that feels more like an event than a Star Wars movie in theaters. You know, I can watch all the shows I can watch on Disney Plus, and I never really got the same exact feeling out of a Star Wars movie. Even the sequel movies felt more like an event, to me at least, guys, than anything else. There's just something about the opening crawl, the build up to the movie, seeing it with people in the theater, the cheering, all the experiences that the fans give. I don't know, there's something about it. It doesn't matter how good or bad a movie is, there's just something about a movie that feels more like an event. So they have to really take their time with these upcoming titles, and that's exactly what they're doing. They want to make sure that these movies are going to be good ones and not flops with no backlash at all whatsoever. Believe me, Disney is fully aware that they cannot afford another Last Jedi situation. They just can't. They absolutely cannot. And Bob Iger knows this, and he has acknowledged this, and that's why he said a couple of months ago that we want to make sure that the first film is going to be a good film. And that is the New Jedi Order movie, something that fans have been heavily criticizing already because Rey is in the film. And look, I understand that. A lot of fans do not like the character of Rey. But let's be real, you know, we know that the New Jedi Order movie is not just going to be about Rey. She's a part of an ensemble cast. I just want to make that very much known, is that Rey is not going to be the quote-unquote main character. She will be a part of a large lead of characters. So that's one thing to consider. So it's really interesting, though, about what Bob Iger's putting out here is that there is a lot of things changing with Star Wars right now. They want to focus on movies. They're ending that hiatus that Kathleen Kennedy started back in 2019. She's the one who made the call, by the way, to end Star Wars movies for a very long time. And you know what? At the end of the day, I think that they should have just kept on going with annual film releases, or at least every other year. Because I think it would have kept Star Wars a little bit more of an event, rather than just sticking to streaming. But overall, guys, I would love to hear what you have to say about this below in the comments, and if you guys did enjoy the content for today, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel, and I will catch you guys next time.